Imagine if there was a way to get clients for your agency every single month without doing any outreach. Well, we created a system that does that for this client, who was a local lead gen agency for lawyers. We generated them 105 sales calls. Out of those calls, 24 became a client, and it resulted in $244,000 in extra sales revenue. So in terms of a return on the ad spend, that was a 6.02. Now, what I want to do in this video is break down exactly how we did it and the main key needle movers in that process that made it so profitable for this client. And just to note, the sales revenue that you can see on the screen, that is based off just 3 months of retainer for the client. Now, obviously, out of those 24 clients that they signed, maybe not all of them stayed on longer than 3 months, but a high majority did. So realistically, if we're going to give you like a true accurate figure of how much this campaign made them, then it would be much more than 244,000, maybe double, maybe even triple over the lifespan of maybe 2 to 3 years. So those are the numbers. What I want to share with you is how we got there. Because a lot of the time, if we're running ads to get clients for your agency, it just comes down to funnel economics. Now, if you know the funnel economics that you're aiming for, and you know how to optimize them to make sure that they're profitable, then it can literally just be a game of, okay, Facebook, I'm going to spend this much money, and you're going to give me this many clients, or you're going to give me this much money back. And it's obviously as simple as that. So what I've done into this kind of like funnel economic generator here, I've inputted the key figures. So it's not 100% accurate because I just want to like use round numbers. But you can see here that we've got the 42,000 in spend. We've got the lifetime value, which is around 10,000. So we've got about the 200K profit and nearly a 6 ROAS. Again, I don't want to like use the decimal points. I'm just going to use round numbers in this example. But this is the process that we built for the agency. So I want to run now kind of like the key points in this process and how we kind of made it work. So number one, there's like 2 key main components that make this whole system successful. Number one, it's the ads and the advertising. And then number 2, it's the video that they see that basically sells your service. Now, we actually create this video and we do it very differently to most. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second here. But first, let's look at the ads. So the ads, what's interesting about running ads for your agency is that you don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you work with e-commerce businesses, they will spend literally 100, 200, 300 grand a month on ads, even more, right? Some will spend millions, obviously. And it's the same with info products. There's not many, you can't really scale an info product by spending 2 grand a month, 5 grand a month, right? You're going to spend hundreds of thousands if you really want to scale to big numbers. But with an agency, you're not going to ever spend that much money. Because at the end of the day, for that client that I just showed you there, they were very happy with getting like 2 to 4 clients a month. Because with an agency, obviously there's done for you work involved and it's recurring revenue. You don't need to go and try and spend 100K to make 200K back like you might have to do with e-com or info products. You can spend maybe like 5K and that could return maybe over the next couple of months, it could return 20, 25K. But over the year, that could actually return back over 100K in revenue for your agency if you can obviously keep your clients for a decent length of time. So you don't actually need to spend that much when you run ads for your agency, so the risk is quite low. Honestly, typically for that client that we just showed you, we didn't spend any more than, I think, 5.4K in a single month working with them. And in that month, I think we signed like 4 clients, and again, it probably got them like maybe 20 to 30K in extra revenue. So the risk is quite small when running ads for your agency, which is nice. And because of that, you can be quite direct with the ads that you run. So I've talked about this a lot on the channel, and I've talked about this a lot to my email list as well. Now, I stole this diagram from Sabri Subi, and he basically says that most people's marketing target the people that are in buyer now mode. So these ads that are very kind of direct, they kind of lead with the offer. And he says, if you really want to scale, and bear in mind, he helps mainly like coaching businesses and info products scale. I think he actually released an e-com offer a little while ago as well. But he's basically saying that if you want to, and I agree with him, if you really want to scale and spend hundreds of thousands a month profitably on ads, you need to start targeting the people who are problem aware, and you need to transition them into info gathering mode or transition them into buyer now mode. And I agree with all that. If you're running ads for e-com or you're running ads for info. If you're running ads for an agency service that you sell done for you packages, then you don't need to worry about that. You can actually just run ads targeting people who are in buyer now mode, and you can make a lot of money. Because again, we're spending 2, 3, 4, 5K a month. Yes, you might spend a little bit more if you want to. It depends on the operations of your business, how many clients you can take on board. But you're not like burning through, $100,000 a month in ad spend, right? Because that's going to get you, honestly, too many clients that any agency could probably handle. So it actually makes it a little bit easier. So for the client here that we were working with, this 42 grand that we spent on ads was mainly spent on 3 different types of ads. And honestly, they're pretty simple. Number one, there was an offer ad. So it was basically just restating the offer of the business. Now this can include like a claim, a guarantee, a time frame. Obviously, we worked on the client with kind of the offer that would work to cold traffic, but it would basically be a very short, direct ad that was just focusing on the offer. Number 2 was case study ads. So we basically picked out maybe the top 2 to 4 client testimonials, and we created different ads that kind of went through a mini case study of each one of those clients, and we ran that. And then the third one, which does appeal a little bit to this section, is problems and solutions. So it's not necessarily leading with, hey, we're going to get you this result, or hey, we made this person this much money. But it focused more on, okay, these are the key pain points that we know the client is experiencing. We'll hook them in by connecting to those pain points, and then we would provide kind of like a unique solution that can help them solve that pain. And we basically just cycled through these ads. And I say cycled, again, it's not like you're running an e-commerce advertising where you have to create like 100 new creatives every single week, right? You can just create 1 or 2 really good ads and just spend money on them every single month. And you don't have to scale past, 3K a month, 4K a month in spend, because that might generate you back 2, 3, 4, 5 clients. And you could be happy with just bringing on, 4 new clients a month, which is 1 new client a week. I know a lot of agencies would be very happy if they could just sign 1 new client every single week profitably. So that was kind of the game plan with this agency, and it worked really well. Another reason why the case studies worked really well for us as well is because this guy was helping lawyers, and it's especially, and it probably works for most local businesses, but especially in like the big cities, there was a few key players that people really were obsessed with beating. So it was like highly competitive in those big cities, and the big law firms kind of knew each other. So he had worked with a couple of big law firms. One was based in California, and having a case study on that person just killed it because everyone kind of knew who they were. They recognized the name. So that just kind of like sold it for them. So honestly, it wasn't too hard. It definitely wasn't hard to maintain the ads because it was such a low spend. But once you found the right ad, the right script, the right creative, then it was pretty easy from there. So those are the types of ads that you can run. And one thing I do want to note, I just want to show it on the other screen as well, is all of this spend was on Facebook. So if you go back to here, you can see at one point we flirted with YouTube. Bad idea. Okay, it wasn't very good. You can see here we spent $1,500. We got 2 calls booked. So the cost per call was $761, which is not very good. And they were, I don't even think they either didn't show up or their application was just awful. So all of this was from Facebook, and it's what I would recommend for everyone. YouTube is a really good scaling platform, but like I said, you don't really need to scale that much when you're running ads for your agency because you're obviously limited on how many clients you can bring in. So just use Facebook. It's going to be so much easier for you. So that's number 1. That's the advertising. Number 2, let's have a look at the video then. So what you don't want to do, and this is where a lot of people mess up, because obviously, there's definitely agencies out there who try and run ads to get clients, and most of them dramatically fail. And there's a few reasons why. Number 1, they feel like they need like a fancy setup, like our man E-Man here had for his agency. And this isn't even that fancy, but they feel like they need like the camera, the lighting, the edits, all of that stuff. Let me tell you, you don't need that. Number 2, they try and create like a really strategic, direct response VSL because they've consumed like too many like copywriting books, or they've looked on like ClipBank and started modeling like the VSLs on there, or they've like started modeling VSLs from different industries like info or e-commerce, and they think that, oh yeah, let's apply those same principles but to my agency's VSL. And they create these like really complex VSLs with like hundreds of different slides. And it takes them not only like months to create the damn thing, but then when they launch it, it doesn't work. And the truth is, like, running ads in a VSL like this, like a video funnel or a call funnel, it's completely different to if you're running ads to sell info or you're running ads to sell e-commerce, right? 2 completely different things, 2 completely different skills, and it requires a different approach. And I'm being serious here. Our best performers, when we worked with different agencies, and these were different niches, whether they were like working with real estate agents, we had someone who worked with dance studios, which is, quite niche. The same process worked. And I'm not even joking. Obviously, you changed some of the details, but it was like literally copy and paste. And I'm not joking. But some of the best performers, they were literally a Loom video. So like I'm filming right now, where they just have, it's not like a fancy camera setup like we've got on the screen. It's literally like I'm filming right now, where I'm just like in a little circle and our clients filmed it on Loom. And then they had like 3 slides. Like it was literally 3 slides. So what I say to them, and when we're helping them create the VSL, well, when we create it, we don't even help them. We create the VSL for them. What we tell them what we're doing is what you don't want to do is just try and give value, right? So like people will start a VSL and they'll be like, these are the 4 things that you need in order to get X, Y, and Z, right? And they'll go through like the 4 keys and they're trying to kind of give value. Don't do that. What other people do as well, they just make it some form of like testimonial presentation where they're just like, we've helped this person and this person and this person and this person and this person. And every slide is just like a testimonial or a case study. You don't want to do that either. Because that doesn't, okay, it shows that you've got results, but there's only going to be a limited amount of people that they're just happy just seeing case studies and they're like, oh, yep, that's what I need. Like a very limited amount of people are just going to be sold just on that alone. You need a lot more. So we actually call it a simulation funnel. So when we create this for the clients, the whole goal is to give them a simulation of what it would look like to work with you as an agency. And this is really good because number 1, it builds trust. Number 2, it overcomes any skepticism of kind of like what the process would be like to work with you. It overcomes objections around kind of like what results can I expect or how does this work. It qualifies the prospects after you've gone through the simulation. Number 2, it positions you as an industry leader, and that's not just the VSL, but the whole process does. So for example, if I ran like a dental practice in the US, how many emails do you think I'm getting every single week from a lead gen agency that promises me they can get me, 20 new Invisalign appointments this month or something like that, right? Too many, right? So even if you're really good at what you do and you've got the best results in your industry, Jimmy, who has just watched Iman Gadzhi's accelerator program, and he's just started his agency and he's 15 and he's living in his mum's spare bedroom, he's probably using very similar outreach scripts to what you are. Even though you might be 5 to 10 years deep with your agency, you've worked with 100 clients, you've generated millions, it doesn't matter. When it comes to like a cold email script that is, 2 paragraphs long, or a cold DM on Instagram, the difference between a really brand new beginner that doesn't get results and like an expert agency owner, it just dissolves. The end prospect can't tell the difference. Maybe they would if they did more research into you, but they're so burnt out and tired of getting bloody sold to every single day and getting prospected from all the DMs and the emails that they can't be bothered to do the research. So you can't rely on just your results alone and just expecting them that they're going to click through to your website and do some research on you. They're going to judge you within 2 seconds. And the reality is most agencies sound like everyone else. So again, the more experienced agency who's actually good at what they do, they sound just like fucking Jimmy. And that's a big problem for you if you're one of the most experienced agency owners. So if you run ads and you have a funnel set up like this positions you differently than everyone else. Because poor Jimmy, who's 15 and doesn't have any clients, he doesn't have any money to run ads, right? So it instantly differentiates you from everyone else and positions you as an industry expert. Now, whether you are or not, that doesn't really matter because it's the perception and it's the positioning. And the positioning of looking at you on the newsfeed and you're running an ad and you're spending money to reach that person, especially if you're offering advertising services to the local business, that is going to position you so much higher than just slipping into the DMs or sending them a cold email with the same script that everyone else uses. So the positioning dramatically changes like the dynamics of that sales process and how they perceive you and how they're going to respond to you and how they're going to respect you and the whole mindset when they're interacting with your business. So this is also like another psychological reason why ads work so well. And also the simulation funnel, when we make our clients basically go through it and run the simulation, because we back it up with numbers and we show them exactly what it would look like to work with them and it's tailored for their business, it just makes it a complete no-brainer for them to say yes. And that's something I probably should have said earlier. And I suppose it should be common sense, but you never know. When you run this type of funnel, you want to make sure that you're running it for one very specific niche with one very specific offer, right? So you don't want to run the ads and be like, we'll work with any local business. If you're like a local business, whether you're a dentist or blah, blah, like you just list off all the different niches, then that's not going to work. Because you need to be specific. They need to come through this process and understand that you are the perfect person to help them, their specific situation, their specific business. And when you run the simulation, it needs to be specific to them and their industry. So, for example, if you're helping gyms get leads, what they could expect in terms of like return and money and leads and just that whole process might be very different to a med spa owner. So if you're trying to run a simulation that appeals to like 2 different types of businesses, it's going to be very hard to do that and it still be effective. So that's why you need to be really specific. And then also on the flip side, you can't be like, hey, we help gyms, but we help you with website design and we also run ads and we also help you with your organic content and a million different things. Because again, the simulation just isn't going to work if you have to try and do a simulation for like 5 different services. It's going to be messy and it's going to lose them, right? So you want to be really focused with the type of funnels that you ran. So for example, for one of our clients, we ran a funnel, and this was getting really specific, and some of them worked more than others, but we ran a funnel for personal injury lawyers. So it wasn't just any type of lawyer, it was personal injury lawyer. Then we had disability, and we ran like family law as well. So we actually ran, and it was for the same service lead generation. So we ran basically like 3 different funnels for like a specific type of lawyer. So we actually went super niche within the niche. Now you don't have to do that. And definitely the personal injury lawyer one worked better than the others, and it was the majority of that spend. But that's kind of like how niche we were willing to go. So don't kind of like go super wide and just try and help everyone. So when you do this right, like I said, you don't have to spend $1 million to make some good money back. This was like around a 12-month period. So, and again, you don't have to spend 42 grand, but in 1 year, so it's not even that much per month. If you were to spend 40K, but you made back over 200K in profit, and that profit was from recurring payments from clients, then you would probably be pretty happy. And again, like I said, that lifetime value is based on a 3-month minimum. So if you can keep your clients for longer, then obviously that lifetime value that you can see on the screen here, which is 10,000, that could go up to 20. And if it does, then obviously the profit would double as well. So it gets pretty nuts. If you're a good agency and you can keep your clients for like 6+ months, it doesn't even have to be that long, honestly, because this is on a 3-month minimum, and you can see that the math works out. But if you can keep your clients for longer and your LTV is higher than like 5 grand, I personally believe it's a no-brainer to run ads. Now, what I've done here is highlighted this 20% here. So you can see with this client, they converted 22% of their sales calls, which is pretty nuts. That's not even like people who have been like pre-qualified in terms of like it's the second call. That's not even like calls that showed up. That's 22% of every single call that was booked. Now, what's interesting, especially if you work with, I would say more like high-level local businesses. Don't want to throw, anything bad on any types of local businesses, but like, for example, lawyers, doctors, people who are probably in more affluent industries. And I would also say people who are maybe a bit more professional, people who work off a calendar, people who like work with emails. The show-up rate and the conversion rate is usually extremely high. So, for example, like I said, this was for a lot, like we were working with lawyers. Well, we were working with the agency who helped lawyers. And our show-up rate was literally like 90+%. Like pretty much all the calls showed up. And you can see we converted 22% of them, which is pretty nuts. And again, if you do the simulation funnel correct, these guys will come on the call. You've got the right positioning. You showed that you can help them. You've made a logical argument of like, this is a no-brainer to work with you. You're going to close a lot of those people, right? So again, it's not like you're selling like a biz op where, 1 in 20 might have the money and then they might not even close anyway. You're talking to like professional business owners who have got all the information. They're already educated on what you do. They're already sold on it, and they're already sold on you. So closing becomes so much easier. Now, if you're working with lesser local business owners, so for example, we worked with, I mentioned it before, we worked with an agency that worked with dance studios. So I'd say like a less sophisticated, less professional industry. And his close rate on those calls were definitely lower, but the calls will come in cheaper. So, and this isn't like the best cost per call in the world. So again, I'm not trying to like make this out to be like it's some form of like fairy dust funnel where you just drop $1 in and you make $1 million back. But if you look at the cost per call, on average, it was $385. So just, I know the numbers didn't 100% work out here, but 333. That's expensive, right? That's like a little bit high, honestly. But if you close 1 in 3, 1 in 4, and each client is worth 10 plus K, then you're going to be profitable. And that's the cool thing about an agency. Like, because it's recurring revenue, even if you pay $1,000 to get a customer, maybe you might pay 1.5K. Maybe you'll pay 2K, right? And that's high. But if your lifetime value is 10, 15, 20K, then it doesn't even matter. You could even just break even on that first month with that first month retainer. And then after that is pure profit, which at the end of the day, that's a pretty damn good deal. So again, depending on the industry and the niche, your cost per call is going to be higher or lower. Like I said, if you're doing like lawyers or dentists, it's probably going to be on the higher side. But the close rate will typically be higher. So the math usually works out where for the people that we've worked with, we can either get the cost to acquire a customer from the ads. We can usually get it below that first retainer. And again, based on the people that we work with, it's going to depend on, you know, how much they charge, what is their retention rate, like what is their offer, who are they working with, like all of that stuff goes into it. And basically we get all that information and we work it out with this basically generator, and we say, hey, look, we feel like this is going to be a realistic outcome for you. You know, in this scenario, we were getting clients for $1,600. Now, for some people, it's going to be less. Some people, it could even be a little bit more. But at the end of the day, if you're charging like $2,500 a month, then you're going to be sound. Like if you have everything set up correctly, right? If you don't know what you're doing and you just throw up a funnel and you put like $5,000 into Facebook ads, then you'll probably lose it. But if you have the system set up, you know how to do the simulation right, and obviously you get your ads on point, then actually running ads to get local lead gen clients is, I would say, one of the easiest things to do because of, like I just mentioned, the economics and the numbers, they work out. So thanks for watching the video. Appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one.